Welcome into another edition of The Session with Londa and David. My name is David Austin, and sitting across from me today, wearing what looks like a faux choker in her shirt.
Just a shirt.
Spectacular. Looks much more revealing than it actually is.
It's not at all.
It's my wife, Londa Sherwood Austin. How are you today, beautiful?
A little embarrassed, but good. It's just a, professional shirt that you would wear to work.
It is a professional shirt that you would wear to work, but I think the faux choker makes it look like it's something that it's not. And I enjoy that. And maybe that's just for me. Who knows?
I don't know.
The Session with Londa and David is a show that focuses on customer service experiences in an effort to help businesses grow through customer service that's authentic, that's good. I know that sounds strange, but is appealing to the audience of whatever business we're talking to. So that is the focus of the show.
It is, and we really want to help businesses build on their skills. And if I were a business owner, I would encourage my staff to listen to our podcast because you can pick up a lot of really good pointers. We talk a lot about first impressions.
That's exactly right.
Customer service. We talk about the sales process, although we haven't gotten really deep into the sales process as far as how you give your pitch, how you close the deal. And so in future podcasts, we'll get more into that because that's
interesting. You know, what I'm very interested in that you touch on a lot is the psychology of the sales process. I think that's fascinating.
And a lot of it has to do with personality, which I think is great. I've trained on the DISC personality profile for, 10 years now.
Wow.
And it's really fascinating. And it's really boils down to learning the 4 basic personality styles and learning them well enough that you can recognize the personality of the person across from you.
Yes.
And mirror their behavior back to them.
Yes.
In order to make them feel more comfortable.
Right. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And the DISC assessment, specifically, you gave a keynote address, I want to say a month ago on that. And I think every single person that was in that audience was fascinated by it and wanted to learn more so they can tailor their presentations to each customer, which is something awesome when you're dealing with sales training. A very small number of people just have that and naturally are inquisitive and learn through lots of different conversations to mirror the styles of the people they're communicating with.
Right.
It's a rare person that has that. So knowing that science exists so you can learn it.
Right.
What a cool thing.
Yeah. And I do offer a workshop that's about an hour to an hour and a half long to companies, businesses.
On that
groups,
very thing.
Organizations on that. And I make, one of my philosophies is to simplify everything.
Yes.
Simplify the processes, simplify the things that are already in place, simplify what you're doing, how you're doing it, what you're saying, because I think a lot of people overcomplicate their process.
Yes.
And knowing the personalities, I remember it one time I walked into a meeting and knowing the personality of the person I was meeting with, and this was for a real estate listing appointment in Washington State, where I'm a licensed realtor.
Yeah.
And I said to him, because I knew his personality style, hey, so listen, I don't want to waste your time. Do you want the 30-minute presentation or the 3-minute presentation? And he said the 3-minute. And I had him...
I bet you $50 he thought that was the coolest thing that's ever happened.
He thought it was the best thing ever, and I had all the documents signed and the whole appointment done inside about 12 minutes and out the door. And it was great for me too, because I prefer the shorter one just naturally.
Right.
But I've had listing appointments, I can think of one, that was, an hour and a half long because he wanted me to read the entirety of every document to him, and I did.
Did you do it as a British matriarch?
No.
You didn't go high and do the British accent?
Not at all. Not at all.
I think reading things to people in a funny accent would break the ice.
This wasn't the kind of person that you're looking to get a laugh out of. Those people, the very detail-oriented sticklers for the rules, aren't looking for the laugh.
And as a lender, I love engineers because they want the bottom line, and they only want the bottom line, and they've probably already seen 6 other lenders, so they want to go over it with you.
Right.
That's really good to me. And before I sit down with people to go over the numbers, I ask them, if they're that kind of person, how many banks have you talked to? What does it look like? What's the field look like? What's the interest rate picture that you've come to see?
Right.
And, as a lender, really, most of our rates are about the same, right? So my speech that I give about pick the guy you like the most, because I'm pretty confident in most cases they like me the most. I know that sounds goofy, but I'm all show, right? I'm Captain Personality. So I give that speech.
Yes.
That does not work with engineers. They want the bottom line.
Right.
That's all they want. And I actually love it because I always try to put my best foot forward.
Yeah.
Loan officers, since the Dodd-Frank bill, don't make commission on the loan style. So you always put your best foot forward, and now the playing field's leveled, so everybody has to, right? In the old days, I've been doing this about 20 years. In the old days, anyway, that wasn't the case. You made extra money on whatever loan product they chose. I think that needed to be a reform made in the industry, which it was, and now everybody has to do that. So those guys have no time for nonsense, and they just want you to put your best foot forward. And when you do, surprisingly, they can tell if there's something not right. You know what I mean?
And there's a ton of information online and a lot of books on the DISC personality profile that you can read. I think that my workshop is really unique because I teach you how to identify their personality in about 3 seconds upon visual.
And I got to tell you, that's really cool.
There's a lot of visual cues that you can pick up on, and and then there's a question that I teach in the workshop that every single time you ask this question, the answer reveals their dominant personality type. So there's some good stuff there. And then if you just learn how to speak their language.
That's exactly right.
Which is kind of the hard part for some people, just learning the other language. But it's super important. And again, it's just to make them feel more comfortable, make them feel at home, make them feel seen and heard. Back to, having empathy for the person across from you, which I think is really important.
That's exactly right. And I heard you the last time you gave a keynote address about this say, you don't use your powers for evil.
That's right.
And that is a cool line because of the superhero reference. And it's not about manipulation.
Right. You can use that to manipulate
Sure.
people.
But that's not what it's about.
Right,
it's about making their experience better for them.
Yeah.
You can cater the experience to the customer if you recognize how they prefer to communicate.
Right.
In my last marriage, we went to marriage counseling and took a test about communication. And I learned so much about my ex-wife, and she learned so much about me taking those tests. For instance, I love spontaneity. I communicate that way as well. She does not like spontaneity. I didn't understand why if I called her and said, hey, great news, had a great bonus, let's go out to dinner tonight, that created roadblocks in her mind. It was like throwing a wall in her travel plan.
Very unfair to her.
Yes. And I thought, well, how come nobody wants to do the fun stuff that I want to do? I felt put upon until I learned that was a stressor for her. And that changed my dynamic in communicating with her dramatically.
Right.
You know what I mean? It didn't mean we stayed together forever, but we stayed together for another 5 years or so. You know what I mean? A 20-year marriage is pretty good. That's what I'm saying. A 20-year marriage is pretty good. But learning how to communicate for the other person's benefit,
well, yeah,
magic.
If you're in sales and you learn how to do this, then all of a sudden you start learning how this can apply in every area of your life. With your partner, your friends, your children, but it's a discipline to work at it. It's like working that mental muscle.
Yes.
To do it, because we're so hardwired just to think the way we think. And you and I were actually talking about this yesterday, about how you have certain little quirks in your personality that don't irritate me, because that's just who you are.
Right.
And it's just how your brain is wired. It's your high I, party fun. It's your Enneagram 7,
right?
Spontaneous personality, and things like noticing the garbage is just generally not something you're ever really going to think. You'll notice it, and then as soon as you turn away, you forget it.
Right.
I don't get irritated by that, because that's just who you are. It's part of your personality.
That's interesting. Is this an airing of grievances?
No, not at all. I don't. That wasn't even an.
No, I kid.
That wasn't a grievance. That was.
I'm kidding. He doesn't notice the garbage, but it doesn't drive me crazy.
Well, I'm using that as an example only because I hear a lot of spouses complaining about that thing. In fact, I just saw TikTok this morning, like, oh, I love my husband so much. He's walked past the full garbage 3 times and hasn't taken it out, which I take issue with anyway, because if you've noticed that your partner has walked past it 3 times and not taken it out, and it irritates you, why don't you just take it out?
Furthermore, if you noticed it was full prior to me walking by it 3 times where I didn't notice it, aren't you kind of being cruel, leaving it in there and not saying anything?
Well, I mean, I guess,
think so.
Yeah.
Unless my job is sanitation expert and I'm deficient in my job.
And sometimes
category.
I think that people who live together do have those kind of almost contracts where this is your job, this is my job, and they kind of split up the household chores, and that can be really helpful too.
Sure. Like, for instance, I don't know how to use our washer and dryer. I don't. You've tried to show me. It's information I don't want to store in my hard memory. I only want that in my RAM memory, the random access memory that I can get rid of. I don't want that in my hard memory.
Likewise, I don't want to learn how to operate the printer.
That makes sense.
Or the televisions.
You don't know how to operate the televisions. It's true.
We have TVs in our house, and I don't know how to turn them on.
It's because of the sound systems and the designer.
Not only do I not know how,
audio
I don't
setups.
Want to know.
Yeah, and you don't need to know because you don't really care.
I don't really watch TV.
As a former broadcaster, I could always justify having the most recent television and sound system because I needed to be up on pop culture.
Right.
I haven't been a professional broadcaster for 20 years.
But you still want to be up on pop culture.
I sure do.
It's just your thing, right? It doesn't bother me.
I like it. I can talk about it all day long, all day, air day.
So this is interesting because this kind of makes me think about, in your business, you need to have your employees in the right seat on the bus.
Okay. I like that.
So when I worked at Miners Drive-In in Yakima, Washington, world famous Miners Drive-In, I worked for Renee Miner. Love her.
She's still there.
Yeah. And we swing in and see her occasionally. Right. And it was one of the most fun jobs that I ever had. It was just fantastic. And I worked there with my best girlfriend at the time, Shirley Green.
Shirley.
Yep, Cheryl. And it was so much fun. But Renee was someone who really understood about putting the employee in the right seat on the bus. And so, she put me on the grill one time. And listen, I'm good at a lot of things, but the grill was not my forte.
Let me ask you this.
However, what...
Was it the speed with which you have to move that you
No.
didn't love? What was it?
No, because I'm quick.
See, I see you doing that.
I can
and being
multitask.
great
I'm
at
quick.
it.
No. So you work every different, and miners, their system is they have one person that does one job the whole shift.
Right.
That's why they're
And
so
that's
quick.
smart.
Yeah. So you try all the different areas.
Like you might be on the fry machine today.
Yeah. You might be doing drinks one day, and you might be doing salads one day, and you might be, okay. When I finally got on the window.
Yes.
She realized that was my sweet spot. The reason I wasn't good on grill is because there's no person interaction.
Right.
So once I got on the window, now I've got the customer interaction. I love upselling. I love making suggestions. I love talking with people and interacting and being that first face that they see.
Yes.
I always loved my jobs where I was the host or the greeter or the first impression.
Right.
And I loved answering the phone at Nordstrom, right, in the customer service, and I loved all that thing. So she was really great at that, and I think sometimes businesses get they move people around, and then when they realize it's not the right seat on the bus, if you will, it's not the right spot for this person, they sometimes are afraid to move them, and that doesn't help the company.
Okay. I like that. Tell me more.
You got to create a culture of understanding that we're going to make sure the right person is in the right place.
Yes.
So it's going to be some trial and error. You're going to see some movement within the company, and that's normal. So
I think that's great. And, you're not missing this eye or this tooth. You know what I mean? So if you've got an okay face, maybe the window's the place for you. If you're missing your left eye,
I think it had a lot.
You might be a grill person.
I think that's mean, but I also think it had a lot more to do with when I get in front of people that
you come to
personality.
Yep.
I part of my personality from the disc really comes to the surface, and I love it.
Yes.
There you go.
Do they only hire high eyes at Dutch Brothers Coffee?
No.
Because those guys are coming at you. They're talking to you. They're leaning into your car. They're aggressively friendly.
I can tell you that no, they don't.
But they should.
Because our daughter Ada
Yes.
currently works for Dutch Bros, and that's the opposite of her.
But when she's there, she's turned on. She's on it.
She draws.
Yes.
And thankfully, she was raised by me and knows that really well. And she knows that she's got a pull from that part of her person. You're all four. It's just at different levels, and different circumstances call for you pulling from different parts of your personality. And sometimes those parts will happen naturally, and then you're in the sweet spot, like I was at Miners in the front window, And sometimes it's not as natural, so it's a little draining. For me, it's energizing.
Okay, before we turn the page to another topic, I want to give people the opportunity to reach out to you to talk about your presentation or your seminar on the disc profile. How can people do that?
Yeah, well, right now they can reach me by phone.
Okay, that's the best way.
Yeah, it is right now. Our marketing department is putting together our website and and all that stuff, so they'll be able to reach us in different ways.
I think tomorrow we will have a meeting with Catherine about our new logo.
Yeah.
I think that's tomorrow.
So all of that is in process, but right now the best way is to reach me by phone, which is 509 491 2663.
Okay, so 509 491 2663.
And I'm all over social media.
Right.
So you can find me on Facebook, Londa Sherwood Austin. On Instagram, Londa Sherwood Austin. On TikTok, you can find us at Business Growth Experts.
Okay.
Yeah. On LinkedIn, Londa, Sherwood, Austin. So there's a million ways to reach me. It's not hard to find my contact info.
And I got to tell you, that seminar is great. You've been doing it for almost 30 years.
No, I've been doing it for 10 years. I don't want to over-exaggerate.
You've been
10 years.
You're right. The 30 years is the sales training and all that good stuff. But the disc profile thing for 10 years, it is good. It is a good program. And I learned things that I've heard you do it a couple of times. Yeah. I learned things the last time you did it just from watching it.
Do you know how I first discovered that DISC personality profile?
And an employer made you take it.
I read a book called, when my kids were little, called Different Children, Different Needs.
Okay.
And it's all about, and I recommend it.
Going back to the mom coach days.
Yeah, it's all about that personality profile. And in the book, you determine your dominant and secondary personality and each of your children's dominant and secondary. And the book's fantastic because it goes on to say, okay, if you're a dominant this parent and you have a dominant this child, here's the areas where you can connect really well. And here's the areas of potential conflict and how to overcome them. Such a great book, Different Children, Different Needs.
Great. I like that. Okay. I went down a different road just now because you said that, and I don't know how to get back. So I need you to fill for a few seconds while I try to come back from where I am. Okay, go.
I don't know how to fill. I feel all this pressure now. I'm anxious and sweating, and I don't know what to do. I mean,
that's hilarious. That's good.
Yeah. Well, you had a great customer service experience just this morning.
You know what?
I remember you wanted to talk about.
I did. It's so funny because I've been mad at Bank of America for the last 6 months.
Wah, wah.
That's exactly. You know what? Yes, I've been mad at Bank of America for 6 months since we bought our vacation home here, and it's fast becoming our primary residence because they've been closed, and I have been trying to close 2 of my accounts for the entire time just because I don't run in by the mall in Tri-Cities to do my banking now. So I don't have a Bank of America that I can go to. But here's what they've been doing for the last 6 months. Each of my accounts, because, I kind of cleaned them out when we bought this house. I moved whatever our down payment was out of that account to pay our down payment, right?
Right. Okay.
And I thought, well, that's cool. I only have a few $100 in there now. I don't need to use it because my HAPO is where I get my paycheck from Envoy Mortgage. You know what I mean? So I don't need it. And then when we came here, we started a mid-Florida credit union account. So I just have been for 6 months trying to get rid of this Bank of America account, checking and savings that I do not use, right?
Okay, I have a very clear picture now.
And I've had $48 in that account for 6 months, except here's the problem. Every month, they've taken $8 from each account every single month. So for 6 months, all they've done is remove money from that account. So I've been trying to close it. I've been calling the 800 number. I've been trying to walk into locations, and they've all been closed thanks to COVID. Well, today, on my way into the office, I drive by the Bank of America on US Highway 98, which is on our way here, and I saw someone coming out of it, and I thought, I should go. I'm a quarter of a mile past it when I said it out loud, and you said, yeah, turn around. Let's take care of that right now. So I did.
Because I'm tired of listening to... No.
You're tired of hearing me bitch. That's a direct quote.
No.
I'm tired of your bitching. Quit your bitching, David. So anyway...
That's not true.
So anyway, we turn around and go. And I walk in, and there's a ton of people in line. And I got to tell you, being a frontline worker at a bank cannot be easy, because I watched the guy in front of me in line screaming at this lady because she wanted to charge him to cash his check when the check was not written on that bank and he did not have an account in that bank. So they were going to charge the guy a service charge. Let's call it $8. I don't know if that was what it was. And he's like, well, how come you going to charge me $8? All of the other banks don't do it no more. Well, okay, great. They do. And they notoriously charge a ton at Bank of America. That's neither here nor there. But it's not that poor teller's fault. She looked like a poor deer in headlights as that guy screamed at her.
We speak to employees and business owners a lot. But if I may, for just a second,
Yes.
speak to all of humanity,
Yes.
could we all just be a little nicer?
Well, this particular guy wasn't nice. So when I got up there, I didn't want to lead with, hey, I need to close 2 of my accounts because you dicks are charging me too much. I didn't lead with that.
Wow, that was a severe statement.
I felt it, but I did not say that. Instead, I said, hey, let me apologize for that experience you just had. I don't know that guy, but it's not your fault that your bank charges to cash checks. That must be rough on you. And she breathed a deep breath in and kind of relaxed.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
And then I said, hey, listen, I've had 2 accounts here that have just been charging me fees for the last 6 months that I don't use. How do I close those? And there hasn't been an open branch, so I haven't been able to close them. And she said, you know what? Kathy Ann over there, and she pointed to the lady over there, she can help you. Let her know what you just told me.
And you are masterful at softening bad news.
Right. Well,
I hear you do it all the time.
Well, yeah. And had that guy not blown up on that poor girl, and then as he was walking out the door, he turned around and said, next time learn to smile when you're helping a customer. Yep, that's right. That's what he said on his way out of the door.
I'm so glad I wasn't with you.
Well, it would have been very awkward. No. But it was very, very uncomfortable for everyone in the branch that guy did that. So I felt bad. So I told her that. And then I went over to Kathy Ann, and Kathy Ann looks at me and smiles, and I said, hey, listen, I need some help. And she said, okay, tell me what you need. And I said, I've had this account, 2 accounts actually, that I've been trying to close for the last 6 months, and everywhere's closed. There's not an open Bank of America. So what should I do? What's my option to get this closed? And she says, you know what, David, you could call the 800 number. And I said, well, I can't because I get on hold for 20 minutes, lose my mind, and set my phone on fire. I've had to replace 3 phones. That's untrue, but that's what I said to be funny,
Right.
hyperbole and all. And she said to me, you know what, let me help you right now. Let's just knock this out right now. And I had $1 in my regular account and negative $4 in my savings account. And that's because they took $8 from both accounts over the weekend for service charges.
Okay.
So I say to her, listen, I'm negative $4. So I've got a $5 bill in my pocket if you need me to pay you that. She says, here's what I'm going to do, David. I'm going to reverse one of the charges. And you'll then have $5.25, which they'll give you at the thing. So
you can get yourself a fancy coffee, as you often say to people.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So I worked with her. It took probably 10 minutes for her to undo all that had been done on that account, which it's funny, that account only had proof of my Louisiana driver's license, which I have not.
So it's going way back.
I have not possessed a Louisiana driver's license for 20 years. She actually looked at the picture and said, yeah, this guy looks a lot younger than you.
Yeah.
I said, well, look at the date. That guy is a lot younger than me. He's 30.
Yeah.
So anyway, she took care of it. I went to the counter. I got $5.25, and it was just a beautiful experience. It's one of the best Bank of America experiences I've ever had, and it was on the day that I was closing 2 accounts.
Right.
That could have gone radically differently because, the news is not good.
No, but some of it is the way that you approach things.
I guess.
It absolutely is. The way you approach it makes all the difference. And, I have a good friend that I talk with quite a bit, Mindy, who lives in Spokane.
That's right.
And we try to talk about once a week. And when we chat, we always talk about business. And this is one thing that she does the same way that you do really masterfully is the way that she talks to people in a place of business where she's doing business. It's almost magical. They want to help her. They want to give her anything she wants. They want to, and I tease her because she goes to this coffee shop and her drink order is ridiculous.
Can you do it?
I can't because it's so complicated. I can't even remember it.
Matcha, soy, oat
Oh
milk,
my God.
two turntables and a microphone.
Yeah, and she wants this like cinnamon blended in while you're making it, but then when you're done, top it with, coconut foam and then sprinkle it with, I don't know. It's like, it's ridiculous. They are so happy to do it for her because of the way that she treats them.
Right.
And the way she approaches it is,
Yes.
listen, I'm really complicated. This is the most bougie drink you're ever going to make. But if you do it, I'll come every day and get this thing from you. You know what I mean? So
And
it's like,
she does.
She's just so
very
friendly
loyal.
with them and really is interested
Yes.
in them. And you do the same thing.
Well, I've always talked to people about the benefit of kindness
Right.
in every communication. And I coach people when they have a 30-day late, that's an error. That's not their 30-day late, When you call the bank, you don't say, I got a 30-day late and you need to fix it. That does not help you.
Right.
Some other department does that, sir. You know what I mean?
So I like that we're kind of turning the tables today a little bit and kind of talking about if you want better customer service, be a better human.
Well, that's true. And,
The way that we approach it as consumers makes a difference
when
too.
you ask someone for help and
Yeah.
have a smile in your voice.
Yep.
And I learned that in radio. When I first started radio, somebody told me, hey, David, when you're doing traffic and weather together on the 9s, smile. Because when you smile, it sounds happy. It
Yeah.
doesn't sound sad.
Yeah.
And so I did that. And guess what? If you have a smile in your voice, people want to work with you.
Yep.
So if you call somebody and you're like, hey, listen, I need your help. I'm confused and I need somebody to explain it to me and maybe you can help me with this.
Right.
If you start your phone call with that, I guarantee you that guy wants to help you or that gal wants to help you.
Right.
Unlike the guy who calls pissed off, they want to get you off the phone as soon as possible.
For sure.
So they give you a customer service number that's not them.
Or they're just going to tell you anything they can to get you off the phone and get out of the hot seat. So it's a two-way street, really.
Yeah, when I coach customers on how to call their bank and ask for assistance, I tell them, say it with a smile in your voice and ask for help. Don't demand it. And you might get lucky, and I've had a lot of success with that over the years.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. That's cool. That's interesting. So anyway, Kathy Ann at the Bank of America on Highway 98 was spectacular today, made me feel comfortable, made me feel like
Applause for
yes,
Kathy Ann.
made me feel like I wasn't doing anything weird trying to cancel accounts. And I've had that happen before at banks where they make you feel like you're some kind of weirdo and you're going to miss out on something awesome. Fear of missing out, FOMO.
I'm
but
familiar.
they did not do that at all. She was very happy to help me. She was apologetic that for 6 months, they've just taken $16 a month out of that account. Every single month. She also laughed.
Again, not their fault.
Not their fault. Nope, not their fault. Seriously, I can't be mad at that. Those ladies at the tellers. They don't set the rules for Bank of America.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's like when someone's screaming at any clerk who's checking out their groceries or whatever, or a server at a restaurant and someone's screaming them down because things went wrong.
Right.
Generally speaking, the server had nothing to do with it. Something rings up incorrectly at Walmart. The cashier has nothing to do with that. They're going to try to remedy it, but there's no need to scream them down.
Well, that's true. And then you use a strip line, as I learned from Brad Seabaugh many, many years ago when he told me about strip lines, which I'd never heard of, 17 years ago. And when you use one of those, you fully deflate the situation. You know what? This is absolutely my fault. I don't know what I did wrong, but I need to write this down so I learn from it. If you say that, the person's only thing to say is, well, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's a good tip, too.
That's one thing I hate from servers, when instead of saying, well, I rang it in that way, they just didn't do it right in the kitchen. That makes me want to set somebody on fire.
Right.
And I'm kind and I never say anything. But when I leave, I say something to you because that is the wrong thing to say. What you should say if you make a mistake, or if you come out and you ordered a steak medium rare and it comes out well done. You know what? I might have keyed it in wrong. I am terribly sorry. Let me replace that steak for you right now.
Right.
You say that, all is forgiven.
It is.
You know what I mean? It's simple. It's how you treat people.
Yep. So learn a strip line.
Learn a strip line. That's right. And that has nothing to do with taking off your clothes, unless you're a Tampa stripper who spills on my shirt. We don't go to Tampa strip clubs, but that's a funny line.
Don't.
We don't go to Tampa strip clubs.
I don't know anything about them.
We were just on a street, Dale Mabry Parkway, where there were like 8 in a row.
There were. We had plenty of opportunity, but...
And we were leaving the absolute worst outdoor expo I've ever been to. Ever. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we can talk about it. I feel bad for them. I genuinely, I'm not annoyed. I'm not irritated. I didn't feel ripped off. I feel bad for them because what went wrong?
Okay. So let me paint the picture for you. Picture, it's a beautiful sunny day on a Saturday. You laugh at that every single time I do it. It's magic. So it's a beautiful day on a Saturday, and we have nothing to do because we did not overbook ourselves this weekend. This is like the first weekend in the last year that we have not been overbooked. So we looked at each other in the morning, and I had just watched the morning news on WFLA TV, which is the NBC affiliate in Tampa. And they advertised their boat show, their outdoor expo and boat show. And I said, and they said free parking and free admission.
Right.
And I said, you know what? You've never been to a professional football stadium. Yeah. Why don't we go to the outdoor boat show at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, the home of the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers? And everybody thought that'd be great. And everybody's just us, you and me.
That's just you and me. I don't know what's going on there. But I was like, I had a workshop that a webinar workshop to listen to, but it was later in the day.
So we decided we'd get there and get out in time to do it. Yeah. So we drive there, and Raymond James Stadium is a professional football stadium. Looks like every professional football stadium I've ever been to, except little less seating than the ones I'm used to, and college venues, because all the SEC schools like LSU seat 100,000 plus.
But Tampa Saturday traffic,
you know what?
Us quite a while to get there.
It did, but once we were there, it was bizarre because we pull up to the stadium. We used, the GPS in the old iPhone to get us there, so. It drove us right there. And you have some Australian guy who's doing the voice, Nigel, you call him, and he's, giving us directions. We get there, and the stadium looks darker than midnight under a skillet. I mean, we pull up to the exact wrong side of the stadium, closed. We drive up, the first parking lot entrance, closed.
And no signage.
None.
Like, expo this way.
Correct. And we were 2/3 of the way around the stadium on city streets that we'd never been on before, mind you, looking at this stadium that there is absolutely no traffic at all, none. So we get to the last leg of the stadium, and then we see cars off in the distance.
Right.
So one of the overflow parking lots, one of like the 9 parking lots, had cars in it. 0 signage to get there. We might have pulled off and gone somewhere else. We were close to doing that. We thought we had the wrong day.
Yeah.
So anyway, we get up to this auxiliary parking lot where they wave us in to park. So we park, and now we're thinking, okay, well, this is a thing, and maybe it'll be awesome. I can't wait. And plus, we'll see this football stadium that hosted the Super Bowl.
Yeah, which I thought was going to be cool. But I thought it was a little weird. There were only a couple hundred cars in the parking lot.
Well, that's exactly right. In the auxiliary parking lot, only a few hundred cars. So we get out and we walk toward the stadium, and I don't even think it was the main gates we went through. I don't know what it was, but whatever the case, we get up there and they charge us $5 per person to go in, even though they said on their program that morning, parking and admission are free. And we thought, well, maybe I read it wrong. Maybe it's just parking's free. But no, the next day, the same promo ran, parking and admission is free.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate mistake.
Well, and that didn't make me mad because, hey, we're going to be in Raymond James Stadium, the home of this year's Super Bowl. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Right?
Going to a show that we probably, has nothing to do with anything we're really that interested in. But it's outdoors, it's fun.
And I figure we'll see 4,000 boats, and they'll be cool. There'll be leisure craft. There'll be fishing boats. There'll be all kinds of cool things. There'll be a yacht in the middle. I'm picturing in my head.
Yeah.
There'll be a yacht in the middle of the stadium
like
that we can walk through.
Inspiring.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this is going to be the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And I thought, and I said on the way there, maybe we'll buy some jet skis. I said that in the car.
You did.
And we get in there, and there are, I'm going to say, 14 fishing boats, like bass fishing boats, in the entryway where they let us come in. And there were 6 or 8 motorcycles in there. Mm-hmm. And there were 3 neat-looking 3-wheeled vehicles that are a hybrid between a car and a motorcycle. They have a cockpit with 2 seats, but it's 3 wheels, and it looks like the Batmobile. And that is it. That's what they had to show on the outside, on the way into, which I figured would be the main event, the actual stadium where you're inside, on the grounds. I'm certain.
And then we walked through like a vendor hall.
Yep, walked through a vendor hallway with, I'm going to say, maybe 30 vendors. Maybe. Mm-hmm. And I think that might be generous.
I think you're about right, because I think there were probably 50 vendors total.
Okay, so we walked through this vendor alley where the vendors are, and
where, again, only one of the vendors engaged us. And again, I did my thing. I talked about it a couple podcasts ago.
That's exactly right.
I looked at the vendor, made eye contact, smiled. Only one of the vendors in that whole area then engaged.
And that guy caught me, and I stayed for 10 minutes talking to that guy, and maybe I'll remodel my kitchen as a result. Who knows? The guy was a builder. Loved the guy. Yeah. He gave me $100 bill laminated that might have had their company logo instead of, the actual face of an ex-president, for $100 off if we do a remodel. Cool. So I like that guy.
Yeah.
Thought they were great.
I was so excited, though, to get inside the stadium and see it.
And again, I was certain there was going to be Pitbull's yacht in the middle of the stadium, right? Where we can walk through a $300,000 yacht. Mm-hmm. Or something, or $1 million yacht, right? Because if I were putting on a boat show, believe me, there'd be some super cool boats there.
Right.
We get inside Raymond James Stadium. I think that's right? Raymond James Stadium. Yes.
Yeah.
We get inside.
I think that's what it is.
And there are 15 other fishing boats, literally fishing boats, along 2 sides of the oval of the football stadium. Mm-hmm. To our right and straight across the field. And then to our left was the stadium's hot dog vendor with a tent selling hot dogs and beers.
One vendor,
hot dogs and beers. And then there was like the Pro Bass Shop bass fishing tank where the guy puts on every hour and a half a way to angle bass. 35, and that was the
tank or something.
Entire boat show and expo. And I got to tell you, my high school football field doesn't look much different than Raymond James Stadium. I mean, let me tell you something. In a football community, the stadiums are awesome.
It was super cool, though.
It was cool to be there and see the stuff, but there was no benefit to being there.
Right. Yeah.
It was lackluster at best.
Yeah, for sure.
Lackluster at best, and I feel bad for every television salesperson who was there because they clearly did not hit their goal of filling up the vendor booths like they should have.
Right.
They clearly did not. I mean, what a disappointment that was. Now,
Yeah.
I feel bad saying it
How
because...
could they be better? That I don't want to leave it there. I want to take a couple of minutes.
Sure.
And talk about how they could be better, and then we can wrap it up.
Okay, here's my first suggestion.
Okay.
And I heard today information I did not know when I went there, that boat dealerships are having a hard time getting boats.
We did hear that.
But you know what? When car lots take over a park to do their off-site sale, and they can do like 3 or 4 a year, they have 2,000 vehicles at the park, and it's all makes and models.
Right.
They only had bass fishing boats at this show, and that is absolutely incorrect.
So how does whoever puts on the show, how do they get or entice more vendors?
Well, they need to do a good job of going to see vendors. Maybe they needed more lead time to sell it. Maybe they needed vendors who have products to sell. I'm telling you one thing that they were missing in their outdoor expo, RVs. Where were the RVs? An outdoor expo should have RVs.
Oh, that's good.
You know what I mean?
That's a good suggestion, although RVs are hard to get right now too.
Except I drove to Tampa and there were 30 RV dealerships on the way.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
So maybe they should open it up to that. There wasn't.
Why not go to the Ford dealer and have the new Broncos out there? Why not go to the Chevy dealer and get the Hummer electric out there?
And there wasn't anyone. There were no jet skis. There were no kayaks. No paddle boards.
I think there was one kayak out in front of one of the fishing boats.
Yeah,
and
I wonder if it was maybe they took last year off because of the pandemic, or maybe they've taken a couple years off, and so it was harder to get people back. I don't know. I don't know what the...
You know what? You've got the power of the NBC affiliate in a major market pushing this program. I don't know how they were able to pay for the rental of the stadium with that low of a turnout. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe that's why they were charging $10 at the door instead of free, like they said on the TV station. Maybe to recoup some of their cost.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I hope they did, because I wanted it to be so awesome. I wanted it to be so much better than what it was.
But we'll have nice pictures of the inside of the stadium on our social media.
We got some cool pictures at the pirate ship and everything. And that was fun. It was super fun.
It was super fun to go somewhere we haven't been before, but wow, I was not thrilled by the actual event.
I'll be excited to see it next year, see if they step it up.
Yeah, and if they want to hire Sherwood Austin Business Growth Experts to help them put that event on next year, it'll be spectacular.
Yeah. You're really good at that.
Well, I've done it for years.
Yeah.
How do people get in touch with you if they want to know?
Reach out by phone. You can call or text 509-491-2663.
That's 509-491-2663 for Sherwood Austin Business Growth Experts.
Yep, we're here to help.
My name is David Austin, and my wife, for Londa Sherwood Austin. This has been The Session with Londa and David.